Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Republicans and Democrats are taking different paths on a number of issues. While California is rolling out new cash payments, 22 red states dropped federal jobless aid to help businesses find workers. After 11 days of fighting, Israel and Hamas ceased fire this morning. Have you wondered why not many Democrats stand with Israel? A Maricopa County sheriff is using his law enforcement powers to resist subpoenas in the Arizona audit. His campaign record in 2016 may offer clues on why he's so against the audit. More voting irregularities emerged in Pennsylvania. Even Democrats have gone mad at the voting machines. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. More states recognize that benefits from the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan are having the opposite effect on economic recovery. This week, Indiana, Oklahoma, and Texas joined 19 other Republican-led states dropping the $300 weekly aid check. Business owners around the country have been complaining that what they can offer to some of their positions doesn't compete with the $300 weekly benefit checks. This has greatly hampered their opening plans. The struggle to find workers is particularly severe in the healthcare, construction, manufacturing, and hospitality industries. Texas Governor Greg Abbott wrote to the Biden administration, in fact, the amount of job openings in Texas is far greater than the number of Texans looking for employment, making these unemployment benefits no longer necessary. Some red states like Arizona, New Hampshire, Montana, and Oklahoma have announced plans to provide working incentives to encourage people to take jobs. The summer stipend program in New Hampshire offers a $500 to $1,000 one-time bonus for individuals who get a job that pays $25 an hour or less and stays in that job for at least 8 weeks. In Montana, people who rejoin the labor force and maintain steady employment for at least 1 month are receiving similar return to work bonuses. In contrast, Governor Gavin Newsom's California comeback plan is rolling out $8 billion in new cash payments to the state's low-income residents and families with children. This socialist type of government aid isn't helping small businesses reopen. Californians may just need to wait longer to see their state truly come back. The Biden administration's COVID relief program has an equity overtone. Its Restaurant Revitalization Fund, RRF, administered by the Small Business Association, the SBA, prioritizes business applications owned by racial minorities, women, and other socially or economically disadvantaged groups. The SBA only processes applications from the priority group in the first 21 days. For these reasons, a Texas cafe owner, Richard Greer, sued the SBA. Greer argued the policy actively excludes entire classes of Americans not mentioned in the priority group. The good news is, a federal judge this weekend ruled in favor of Greer and blocked the Biden administration from prioritizing grants in the restaurant relief program by their race or gender. District Judge Reed O'Connor wrote in his 18-page decision, Greer is able and ready to apply. He has prepared an application on behalf of his restaurant and is otherwise eligible to receive an RRF grant. But for the allegedly unconstitutional prioritization scheme preventing his application from being processed, O'Connor said he believes the plaintiff is likely to succeed in his lawsuit. Greer's Ranch Cafe lost nearly $100,000 in revenue during the coronavirus pandemic. The judge directed Greer to apply for the grant and prohibited the SBA from prioritizing based on applicants' race or gender. After 11 days of rockets filling the skies, Israel and Hamas announced a ceasefire yesterday. The conflict killed 232 Palestinians in Gaza and 12 people in Israel. Israel's Security Cabinet voted unanimously in favor of the ceasefire proposal from Egypt yesterday. Hamas quickly followed suit and honored the deal. The ceasefire went into effect early this morning. To monitor and help stabilize the agreement, an Egyptian security delegation will travel to both Israel and Gaza. Israel Defense Force Iron Dome is a true lifesaver. The aerial defense system has one purpose: to intercept rockets midair before they kill any Israelis. Since May 10th, Iron Dome has taken down roughly 90% of the Hamas rockets. For these reasons, Republican Representative Tony Gonzalez introduced a measure providing Israel with $5 million of emergency funding. The funding would ensure Israel is able to replenish the Iron Dome necessary to continue countering attacks and provide additional resources to deter any adversaries. Gonzalez said on the House floor yesterday, ahead of the vote,
"Now is the time to stand with our ally, Israel. We need to show them that we believe in their right to defend themselves, and the United States will do everything within our power to ensure they defeat these terrorists and any attacks by Iran. Will my Democrat colleagues choose to stand with Israel, or will they cower to the Iranian proxies?"
The Democrats aren't standing with their American ally. The House rejected the measure in a party line vote of 218 to 209. 3 days ago, Democrats shut down another Republican proposal to sanction Hamas. The legislation would have applied sanctions to any foreign persons, agencies, and governments that assist Hamas, Islamic Jihad, or any of their affiliates. The bill was supported by every House Democrat in the last Congress, but they backtracked on their previous promise. In today's climate, standing with Israel is no longer an easy position for any Democrat. The radical wing in the Democratic Party has a much louder voice. The left sees the world through the lens of race. It views the Israel-Hamas conflict as searing racial justice that deeply intertwined with the politics of the United States. In other words, radical activists represented by Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are very sympathetic to the terrorist groups. The two blasted the financial aid America provided to Israel. Sanders said, "We must recognize that the Palestinians' rights matter. Palestinian lives matter." AOC called the conflict a human rights issue. She also alleged the United States needs to take responsibility for the violence that we are supporting. We can't advance this idea that we're some neutral party in this situation if our actions are constantly targeting Palestinians. The leftist intentionally omits the hard fact that Palestinians who started the attack are Hamas terrorists. They are using the Lives Matter banner and the Human Rights banner to twist the facts. However, people who commit war crimes, such as using civilian and children's lives to advance their political goals, are out of the scope of human in the definition of human rights. This is the basics that everyone should know in order to understand the Israel-Hamas conflict. Isn't the left also using people's sympathy to achieve their political goals? In an exclusive interview with Breitbart, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo unleashed on Biden's failed leadership across domestic and international issues. He particularly linked Biden's mishandling of Middle East policy to the energy crisis in the United States. Pompeo said that from the Israel-Hamas conflict to the Colonial Pipeline cyber attack, these are signs that the Biden administration failed to show any resolve on the international stage. He pointed out, we first had the Keystone Project closed, then the biggest pipeline company sabotaged and hacked, and next we saw rockets being fired from Gaza by an Iranian proxy. After all these, it shouldn't surprise the average American it costs more money to get gasoline, if you can even get it. While the negative domestic implications of the Biden energy policies are clear, there are also major national security consequences. Pompeo said specifically that the Chinese Communist Party loves what the administration is doing to undermine American energy interests. Pompeo said the CCP will be happy if America stops exporting energy, which is an enormous wealth creation opportunity for the United States. When America re-entered the Paris Climate Accords, Beijing cheered the loudest because it has no intentions of reducing China's carbon footprint. Instead, the CCP pops out a new coal-fired power plant once a month. Generally speaking, the Biden administration's weak foreign policy and reckless disregard for the American economy are putting the country at risk and undermining working-class Americans. The good news, Pompeo said, is that the future is bright for the right. Pompeo is now campaigning with Republicans to retake Congress next year. He said he's been out fighting for conservative ideas for an awfully long time, which predates his time as a member of Congress and goes back to when he was a soldier. Pompeo said the conservatives are just right. Now, before we continue, if you like our program, please hit that like button and subscribe. It'll force the algorithm to share this video to potentially thousands of people. Today, I have the pleasure of toasting to an amazing eye-opener supporter, Rachel. Just over a week ago, her husband Soon sent me a photo of himself enjoying his mug that matters. So yesterday, Rachel's mug came in and she sent me some photos of herself and her husband Soon enjoying their mugs that matter. Okay, so everyone grab your mug and allow me to thank Rachel and Soon. Your support is greatly appreciated. Salute. Even without the actual budget cut for police, the defund the police movement is already reducing the police force indirectly. In the past year and a half, the Seattle Police Department lost almost 20% of its police. Officer Clayton Powell has been with the department for nearly 27 years. He recently told a news outlet that some 260 officers have left in the past 18 months. Powell said, "The support that we had in my generation of policing is no longer there." The death of George Floyd in May last year prompted widespread protest and riots, as well as a wave of police overhaul measures in dozens of states. Powell said during the riots last year in Seattle, officers had bottles and rocks thrown at them, but they just had to stand there and take it. Meanwhile, in New York, more than 5,300 police officers either resigned or retired last year. Now, this is a sharp increase of 75% from 2019, following the defund the police movement and unrest in the streets. Reduced police force endangers public safety. It's almost guaranteed. In Seattle, homicides from last year increased 49% from 2019, pushing it to the highest level in over 2 decades. Now, homicides in New York also jumped 43% in 2020. In Arizona, Maricopa County, Sheriff Paul Penzone appears to have more duties than other law enforcement officers. Penzone has been using his extensive experience and credibility to help county officials resist subpoenas in the Senate audit. Penzone signed a 13-page letter that the Maricopa County wrote to Senate President Karen Fann. In the letter, the county refused to provide auditors the election routers or router images. They said those routers provide a blueprint to the county's network and would expose some of the most critical data, such as law enforcement programs, citizens' health information, financial information, and social security numbers. The county said it can't risk the routers falling into bad actors' hands, endangering the safety and security of the county's citizen and law enforcement. Ben Cotton from Cipher, one of the 4 firms working on the Arizona audit, finds this explanation confusing. Cotton questioned the county's assertion that providing even router images could compromise sensitive resident data, as no professional would store such data on a router. Fann argues that if Maricopa County stores substantial amounts of citizens' highly sensitive personal information on the routers, it would be an indictment of lax data security practices rather than of the legislative subpoena. Nevertheless, Penzone approved this explanation along with many other problematic reasons found in the county's response. At the county's Board of Supervisors press conference Monday, he echoed the county's official accusation, calling the Arizona audit dishonest. Why would the sheriff help Maricopa County obstruct the audit process? Information on how he was elected sheriff has come to light. 4 years ago, Penzone was running against incumbent Republican Joe Arpaio. He beat Arpaio with the help of a crucial $2 million donation from progressive mega donor George Soros. Soros gave Penzone the largest amount among all local races he donated to in 2016. This money was spent through the PAC, Maricopa Strong, which heavily promoted Penzone using mailers and TV ads. The PAC also knocked Arpaio for his stringent law enforcement record against illegal immigrants and for being prosecuted by President Obama's DOJ. Apple co-founder Steve Jobs' widow, Laureen Jobs, kicked in another $250,000 to the pro-Penzone effort in that race. Is it time for the sheriff to repay the favor? In Pennsylvania, election officials in Luzerne County reported problems with Dominion voting equipment at polling places. Dominion admitted that there was a ballot screen error regarding the viewing screen's header. Reportedly, when some Republican voters approached the machine to vote, the introduction page says official Democrat ballot. The Dominion machine is responsible for printing the ballots. A polling place in Kingston Township was forced to pause voting on Tuesday for this very issue. It's not just Republican voters who are complaining. Some Democrat candidates are mad at the Dominion machine as well. Matthew Voy, a Democrat running for county council, said some voters told him his name wasn't on the ballot. According to Voy, some Democrats got Republican ballots. Voight said, "Who knows how many Democrats voted for Republican nominees? Who knows how many votes I lost as a result? The error didn't just affect Republicans." He told the Times leader he would suggest Luzerne County end its contract with Dominion during the next council meeting. The county's director of elections, Bob Morgan, said it was coding on the Dominion voting system machine that triggered the problem. However, Morgan claimed when you are a registered Republican, they have a specific code for that ballot. Even though the screen header says Democratic ballot, it's actually for the races in the Republican Party. Well, that seems pretty confusing to me. Would anyone want to vote like that? But Pennsylvania appears to have more problems regarding election integrity. Ballots mostly from Republican voters in Fayette County were missing barcodes required to allow the ballots to be scanned. When the problem first popped up on May 18th during the local election, no one knew what was happening. George Rattay, chairman of Fayette County's Democratic Party, said that he went to the County Bureau of Elections and found out it was a barcode issue. Republican county officials have helped obtain a judicial order that directed a hand count of all unscanned ballots. State Representative Matthew Dowling, Ryan Warner, and Senator Pat Stefano issued a right-to-know request seeking records involving ballot and voting machine testing relating to the printing of ballots and any reports of ballot malfunctions. Fayette County hasn't yet said why the barcode was missing on some ballots. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out this playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on YouMaker, Gab, and Parler. Now, don't forget, please sign up for the email list so that we can stay in contact together. I'd like to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.